So as I've been making these 2023 NBA mock draft videos, I've noticed that a couple of teams have actually had multiple picks in the first round. A couple of teams have been doing really good trades over the last couple of years to kind of reload and rebuild their team. One of those especially being the Utah Jazz, who have a couple of really high first round picks, not only from themselves but other teams. And I think there is a very good opportunity right now for Utah to build something really, really special. At least that's what I kind of saw when I was, of course, drafting in my mock draft. Now, of course, I do have a couple of picks from Utah in the top 20. One actually supposed to be in the lottery and one that is, of course, not. I would just like to preface off before I get into that one by saying that we don't actually know the official lottery results thus far while making this video, just because, of course, it actually hasn't happened yet at the time of making this video. So essentially, I will just be going off based off where, the Utah Jazz did finish in the standings and whatnot. So yeah, that will kind of be that one. Second of all, I should also say this is going to be a couple of clips from my official 2023 NBA mock draft. So if you're wondering why I didn't take a certain player and whatnot with one of these picks, is because I might have already drafted him with a higher pick to a different team. So I just thought I'd preface that off as well. And I do highly recommend you guys go and check out my official 2023 NBA mock draft, just so you're all up to date and there's no confusion and whatnot. All of that, of course, will be linked in the description down below. But I guess without further ado, here's who I think the Utah Jazz should select with their two top 20 picks in the 2023 NBA draft. Now, I'm going to be moving on to the 12th overall pick right now, where I do, of course, have the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz are a really interesting team because they have one of my all-time favorite players in the NBA right now, in Lauri Markkanen, who I think was a very big catalyst to actually helping the Cleveland Cavaliers be kind of what they are right now. And he has grown into being a really awesome all-star. They've got a bunch of other really nice young players here and there as well, who I'm sure are probably going to be all-stars very soon. But in saying this, they don't exactly have, I think, the greatest guard depth anymore, and I definitely think they're going to be wanting to try and improve on that through this draft. So it's, I think, a pretty good thing for them, because it's not only a best player situation, but it happens that the best players that are going right now happen to fill a positional need that I genuinely think the Utah Jazz have, and that is, of course, finding a new guard. So with this 12th overall pick, I will have them selecting Keyonte George, who I think is probably going to be one of the steals potentially from this draft. There's a lot of, I think, reports saying that Keyonte George could 100% go like pick 8, pick 9. But again, because some of the teams that I've had picking earlier don't really need a shooting guard like him, he's managed to fall to the pick number 12. And that's what Utah have right now, and I think he's a very special player who could definitely help them out quite a bit. For example, on the offensive end, he's really being compared to a Bradley Beal, just a really excellent shot creator who could become an all-star doing that one day. Of course, as well, potentially on the defensive end, a three-point aspect, even being Eric Gordon, who has almost gone quite underrated for most of his career. I feel like Eric Gordon has had a lot of injuries in his career, but I remember a time where I think it was the 2019 playoffs or so, where there was a stat that actually said that the Houston Rockets' second best player on the court, other than James Harden, was not Chris Paul, it wasn't Clint Capella, it wasn't PJ Tucker, it was actually Eric Gordon, because his defensive efficiency and three-point shooting, all of the above, was just so amazing in those playoffs. So to be able to be compared to a guy like Eric Gordon and Bradley Beal is just really good for Keyonte George. If we're going to move on from his comparisons now, Keyonte George is a 6'4" shooting guard who has a really nice knacked ability on the scoring and, kind of being able to shoot really well, whether it's from the catch and shoot or the shot creation. He's also a really, really fast guy who just seems to be able to outrun those defenders, and he's just kind of being labelled as a natural born bucket is what a lot of websites are calling this guy. Now, of course, there are some downsides to him. It's being said that he doesn't really have elite blow-by speed or really an elite first step for that much, and he can sometimes not be very crafty with his ball handling. But again, even though that is a bit of a concern in the NBA, especially considering this is the type of competition where you kind of have to be clever with how you handle the ball so you can score, I think as time will go, he can definitely, be able to, I think, learn that and kind of judge how the NBA game is played, and therefore, quickly after that, I think his ball movement and whatnot will probably improve. It's also being said that he has a really nice mid-range jumper, nice three-point shot, and he's really good at getting to the rim and scoring through contact. So this is just a really awesome type of scorer who could maybe one day, I think, develop and be a solid player like Eric Gordon on the defensive type of end. I just think his true shooting will be something that could be really kind of looked at as a spectacle in the NBA, because if he gets his shot creation going and he can do that somewhat efficiently, it would be a really nice, thing to maybe see. Again, in saying that, his defense might not be near that Eric Gordon type of level thus far. It is being said that he's a very pesky on-ball defender who gives a good effort and takes the task personally. He might not be big on steals and blocks, but he can definitely hold his own against the 1 and 2. So realistically, this just kind of fits into what Utah need, because even though I don't think they have a future point guard and shooting guard just yet, I mean, there's a lot of question marks still on players like Colin Sexton. I think he's probably going to be more of a six-man down the line. I do think bringing in a player like Keyonte George to maybe be your future starting shooting guard and putting him alongside Markkanen and Kessler, it definitely makes a lot of sense to me. And I think some people might honestly see this as one of the steals of my mock draft thus far. I think this is a really good move for the Utah Jazz, and not only is he best available, but he also fits a positional need that they kind of need to tick off and get that kind of down, because this team could be seriously good if they, got some guards back. I mean, when they had Mike Conley and whatnot, they were playing some really good basketball, but they've dropped off a little bit, and I think that might be solely due to the fact that their guard depth is a little bit lacking. But yeah, Keyonte George kind of answers some of their problems, and he could be a very nice long-term prospect. Of course, with the 15th overall pick, it's actually supposed to go to Minnesota. That's where they sit on the NBA standings right now, but we know that they actually gave their pick up to Utah, which is why, I've got them going. That was, of course, in the Rudy Gobert trade and whatnot. So, again, these will be kind of course, being based off where the teams are sitting on the standings right now, and, of course, this could very much change. There are a couple of games, left to go and whatnot, but hopefully it should pretty much stay very close to what I've got going on right now. But with the 15th overall pick, we do have the Utah Jazz from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And with this pick, I've actually got them selecting a player who I think would be really beneficial for their team in Nick Smith Jr., who I think makes a whole lot of sense. I previously had them selecting Keyonte George with their own pick, who is, of course, going to be a shooting guard in this draft. And again, he has a lot of really nice potential that can help the Utah Jazz out, and it's just a big thing right now where the Jazz really need some guards. And I genuinely think with their first pick they've got, they can find their shooting guard, but with the next one, I think they can find their point guard in Nick Smith, who I guess has been kind of talked about being more of a combo guard so far, but I definitely feel like he has a lot of really nice point guard abilities in him and could definitely start there in the long-term future. He's a 6'4", 6'5" type of guy who is also really, really lanky and long. It feels kind of awkward to say that about a man, but this dude is 6'9" and has a really nice three-point jumper that's really smooth. There's only a couple of knocks on his game so far, as his frame isn't exactly that great, and it does look like he needs to add quite a bit more weight, especially if he wants to fit into, you know, the NBA. So that can definitely be a rough start for him if he doesn't do that. But I think as time will go on, it will definitely work out. He's a bit more of a project type of player in terms of that. Doesn't exactly have that NBA built body yet, but if you get him in with some trainers and get that diet going, he could be a really, you know, nice player in terms of a guy who still needs to develop though. He's also been said that he's battled some knee issues in the past, which has slowed him down, which isn't exactly that great, but it is said that he's lights out with the ball, a pretty you know, nice defender, and it is kind of being compared to a bit of Jaden Ivey here and there as well, I've been hearing, which is an absolutely awesome comparison. I really like Jaden Ivey as a player. I think he's helped the Detroit Pistons out quite a bit and has been pretty serviceable for them so far. He's the type of guy who can definitely score at that point guard position, but he can guard the shooting guard and guard the point guard while still being a pretty effective playmaker or so. And I think this will come in handy with Utah. If you partner him up with Keontae George, you've basically got two 6'4", 6'5", you know, guards who I think are going to feed off each other really well defensively. They're both pretty good scorers who have decent jump shots. I just think, yeah, Nick Smith, he probably doesn't have that NBA built ready frame yet, and definitely, you know, has had his injury issues, but I think would be a nice player for this Utah Jazz team to probably select. So, of course, I would definitely really like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you guys agree with my mock draft, or do you guys not? I would very much like to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to my, you know, my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channel, and check out my podcast as well, which will be down below if you haven't already. I'll be linking them all there, but most importantly, just comment what you guys think and whatnot. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.